you find the check
Ready?
sent to the school.
Good evening. Welcome to a regular meeting of the Kansas City Schools Board of Education. Roll call, please.
Mr. Blue?
Here.
Mr. Brim?
Here.
Mr. Householder?
Here.
Mr. McCullough?
Here.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, need a motion for the approval and correction of the minutes of the regular meeting of March 16th, 2015.
Householder. McCullough.
Discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Do I vote affirmative on this because I wasn't here? Or
Well, you read them, didn't you?
I read them. I can't confirm them. I wasn't here in attendance. Yes.
You doubting the rest of it?
Mr. Blue?
Yes. Passes 5-0,
Didn't get much names.
or 4.5
It wasn't a no.
though. Yeah. Principal, supervisor, and faculty reports.
We don't have any tonight.
Looks a little scarce tonight. Okay.
It's okay.
And public participation. I don't see anybody that wants to.
Thomas. Yep.
Tim,
Speak.
Since we don't have anybody sitting out here, I'm not going to read all that either, because we have a lot to talk about tonight. Item 7, reports to the treasurer. Approve the following March 31st, 2015 reports: cash position, check register, receipt ledger, investment report, and budget versus actual. Motion, please.
Room.
Watkins. Second.
Any discussion?
I sent you a new report for the investment that I bought through Third Securities. And that's a step bond. So we'll see if it gets called or not. If it doesn't get called, or, well, I think it was 1.82 would be the net on that over the 3 years.
Which was a little better than the point.
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
If you looked, our investment return this year is down,
Yeah, exactly.
but it is at home too, and everywhere else you look.
Right.
If there's no further discussion, vote, please.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Passes 5-0. Superintendent's reports and communications.
I just have two things that I kind of wanted to talk through tonight. The first one being the calendar. We reviewed the calendar at the last meeting, and tonight we'll actually vote on the calendar. And I just wanted to talk through with the board as well as with the public a little bit about both calendars again, and kind of make a recommendation tonight to what I think, which calendar we should consider. As we discussed last month, the staff's recommendation would be calendar A. And calendar A has the week of fair off, which would be the week of September 7th. Now, I know that in the past, we've had a concern with taking fair week off because the students just start school, and then it seems like we take a week off and then they have to get back into the routines, and it's kind of disruptive to the educational process. But what I want to draw your attention to in calendar A this year was that we are actually starting school a whole week early if you look carefully at calendar A. So we're actually starting August 17th, and that was done with intention. And the reason for that was we wanted to get the kids in 3 full weeks before Fair Week. And the idea was that if calendar A was chosen, the students and the teachers would have 3 full weeks of instruction, time to collect data, time to get the routines down, time to collect that information. And then if they did take the fair week off the following week, there would be a little bit of time to kind of restructure, to say, okay, now that I know my class, now that I've seen this, now that I have some data, gives a little bit of chance for some restructuring. So principals could go back and review data. They could go back and kind of make adjustments, whether it's to intervention groups or maybe I misjudged something. And if we did decide to take calendar A, that does give them a slight adjustment period. to make some of those decisions. Now, staff would have that week off. Principals would work those days. I mean, our administrators have a longer contract. So calendar A and calendar B were very similar. The downside to going a week earlier in the summer is that our summer becomes 1 week shorter. So the time period between June and August becomes very, very short. So I just wanted to share that piece of it. Our staff would actually start working August 12th, and that's very, very early for us. But I just wanted to make sure that you understood the difference in the fair calendar, if you will, and how we designed that differently this year. So that if that would be the calendar that would be accepted, how we've tried to make some adjustments so that some of the concerns with having Fair Week off, what that would, how that would be handled differently. I'm trying to look down. The other things just about that calendar A, there are the 2 weeks at Christmas, and there were, spring break was 1 day longer as well, I think, with calendar A, which might have been some of the reasons that the staff found calendar A a little more attractive. Calendar A and calendar B are really only 1 day apart as far as getting out of school. Calendar B doesn't start until August 24th, a whole week later, and then staff would actually start August 18th. So we're starting significantly later. Again, the week of fair, they would only get that Monday and Tuesday off, which would be September 7th and September 8th. At Christmas, we would only get that first week of Christmas, you would actually start Christmas break on December 23rd, which would be Wednesday, and then you'd have the whole following week off. You would go to school Monday and Tuesday. I think that was pretty similar to what we did this year. We went 2 days, if I remember right. Spring break is also 1 day shorter as well. You would only get Thursday and Friday and Monday. So I just kind of wanted to talk you through the differences. And again, just remind you of the process for how the calendars were designed and chosen this year. We did not use committee. We used our DLT. 4 calendars were created, and we tried to make sure that all 4 calendars would be in the best interest of our students. So whichever calendar was chosen, that we could justify it. We put all 4 calendars in front of our district leadership team. They picked the top 2. The second calendar, there was a very, very close tie. People gave input to what they wanted to see changed. So we kind of made a hybrid calendar with the second calendar, which would be calendar B. And then the final 2 choices, which would be calendar A and calendar B, were put up to the staff for a vote. So I just wanted to make sure you had all that information, because before the motion is made, the discussion happens after.
Right.
So I just wanted you to have all that information tonight about how the calendars were designed, how the calendars were, created, but I just want you to have confidence that no matter what calendar is chosen, we believe that they have the kids' best interest in mind. So the other thing I did want to share is we have several job openings in Kenton, and I just wanted to share those publicly. They're all available, I think, on our website. Some are still internal postings right now. But if you would be interested in a position, you should contact Linda Dickerson here at our board office, and information can be found on the website. But we are just starting with the screening process and then the interview process for these positions. So if you would like to put in an application, we would love to consider you for any of these positions. And so I'll run through them. We have an intervention specialist for Kenton Elementary School at 6th grade. We have a 4th grade teacher for Kenton Elementary School, assistant volleyball coach for Kenton High School. We have a social studies teacher for Kenton High School. We have assistant winter cheerleading advisor, assistant fall cheerleading advisor. Both of those positions are at Kenton High School. We have a 6th grade science language arts teacher at Kenton Elementary School. A 1st grade intervention specialist position at Kenton Elementary School. A 1st grade teacher at Kenton Elementary School. A high school intervention specialist, obviously at Kenton High School. This job is not external yet, so it's an internal position right now, but I'll go ahead and read these. These are internal positions at the moment. So what that means is that any staff member currently employed with Kenton City Schools can apply for these positions. And then if they're not filled internally, they would be posted externally. So these are still internal positions, and I just want to make that clear. There's a 2nd shift custodian position. Actually, it looks like there might be 2 2nd shift custodian positions. It looks like they're both at Kenton Elementary School. A science teacher at Kenton High School. And a 6th grade science language arts teacher at Kenton Elementary School. And we might have an administrative position open as well, and we should know that in the next few days or so, so that there may be an administrative position posting. I think all of our other positions, we either have offers out or we will be posting, approving tonight. So as positions become available, I would suggest that you check the Kenton website under our employment section. Is that the section, Ryan, that we have this posted?
And I double check to make sure it's on, yes.
Okay, because Linda pulled those down tonight. So as soon as they become external positions, they'll post there so that you're able to see them. But I just thought, at least with the public, that we could share those out tonight because we do have quite a few that we're still working to fill.
Okay, thank you. And that's not uncommon this time of the year to have
Absolutely not.
positions change. I mean, they all, everybody looks to improve their own, lifestyle and things. Sometimes they find better opportunities somewhere. We have no problem with that. I mean,
Oh, no. And this year anyway, with the retirement laws and
Right.
changing, there's a lot of retirements just in general across the state, which have created a lot of openings. So
and there's a lot of young teachers out there that are willing to come to work. We appreciate that
yes,
too.
very much.
Okay, thank you. Board committee reports. Finance committee. We met on the 8th of April, went over quite a few things.
I can give you a quick synopsis just of what we discussed.
That would be nice.
If you've noticed throughout the year, we've been adding some supplemental positions. We've had several people who have been doing jobs in our district for free, if you will, out of the kindness of their heart. And now that we're able to fund some of those positions, we've been able to add supplementals. And so you'll see those supplementals on tonight's board agenda. I think the last 2 that we needed to fund, the high school robotics and the drill team, are on tonight's agenda. We also needed to add a sub-bus aid rate because we have substitutes that ride some of our bus routes and our rate was not competitive. You've heard us in the past talk about our substitute rates and being competitive. And I believe that's on tonight's agenda, as well as a sub-administrator supervisor rate. So when one of our supervisors are out and we have to cover them, we needed to approve a rate for that. We talked about a program called InfoSnap, and I think Mr. Householder will be thrilled because we're finally getting to that paperless, put it online piece. I finally found the component to make it happen. It's a program where you can actually do all your enrollment, all of your forms online through our, you'll actually get the link through our website. But the nice thing as a parent, if you've ever filled out all those forms at the beginning of the year and you've repeated the forms and written them 100 times, now you'll be able to do that all online. It will all sync. It will actually all flow up to our Dazzle, which is kind of our database that stores all that information. And it will save hundreds of hours of work where people have had to hand enter all that information and you've had to handwrite it over and over again. And it's not just for those enrollment forms, but it can be for things like our athletic forms, any kind of form that we have to fill out or do in the district. So that's what we talked about InfoSnap a little bit. We talked about Youth Leadership Day. we've kind of had this theme this year about engagement. We've talked about those comprehensive systems of learning supports and taking down non-academic barriers for kids. So we have an opportunity through a program through Leader and Me to kind of send students, a group of students who may not otherwise be able to participate in growing some future leaders in our high school. And so that would be a program that we wanted to sponsor and send kids to. We talked about that. We talked about Northwood renovations. They're going very well. I'll be excited when we get that building renamed to something that's more career and high school oriented, because I still think Northwood Elementary, but when you walk in it, that's not what you see anymore. You're seeing lots of changes go on. So, and I know that there's some things that we'll still be approving here soon, like painting is coming up. I think our air conditioning is coming up as some final things that we'll want to approve. And those quotes are still coming in. We talked about zoning, because if you've been out and about, you'll see that the SB and the Hardin Central sites are now going to truly, you're starting to see that green space. So the next thing that the board will start to do is talk about when will we sell those properties? What will happen with those properties? Now, Hardin Central is already zoned as a commercial site. So when we go to sell that property, it's all ready to go and proper. But there's some questions about what about SB? Because right now, SB is residential, and we can actually try to get SB zoned as a commercial site. And it may be a better use for the community if it was. And so those are some things that the board is looking at, and the board is working through. What's the best use of that property? And can we help the community by getting that rezoned before sale? We talked about booster organizations and how to go about helping them and supporting them with getting things tax exempt, whether or not they needed their own 501(c), or how, if they're working through the board and through Tracy specifically in her department, how could we help them so that they can do fundraisers and get things tax exempt? What are the pros and cons of both sides? And we're just starting those discussions. We talked about the WOCO agreement. That's been on before. We talked about workers' comp. And I think that was all we talked about, if that's pretty much what you remember.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
I missed that.
Yeah.
It was a short meeting. Tom wasn't there, so we got a lot done.
No, it actually was quite lengthy. One of the items we did talk about, and Jennifer brought up, was we talked about the 501(c) policies and things that we have. And we had a discussion about this, I don't know, last fall, early.
Well, it's been ongoing.
For the last 3 or 4 years. So I guess, well, I need to know how everybody feels, what's best for these organizations and what's best for us, and moving forward with these. Is it better for the organizations to piggyback with us or get their own 501(c)s? I mean,
There's been a handful that's already gotten their own, right?
Right.
Athletic
Choir,
boosters.
band, and boosters are working on it, I think.
Athletic.
Yeah, athletic boosters either have it or they're close.
They do have it. Athletic boosters did.
I think the only odd man out is the PTO. Now, I did have some discussions that went on, and I believe the next administration of the PTO is leaning towards getting their own 501(c). So it may solve our problem. Now, me personally, I think it's the wrong way to go, because this is an organization that exists only for us, serves only us, and is now going to spend money that they earn that could go to the school on something other than the school, because we say we don't want to help you. And it all comes down to the board wanting to help. And the person, but in their defense, the person that is most at danger of using the school's 501(c) is not the school, it's the PTO. Because if the PTO is sitting there with, let's just say they have $10,000 in their coffers, that actually is the school's money if they are using the school's EIN. So then the board could actually take that and say, hey, we're having a shortfall. We could use that $10,000 over here and pull it from the PTO, and the PTO would have nothing to say about it. There's nothing they could do. And so in that instance, the best thing to do for the PTO is to have their own, but they're going to pay the money and they're going to put in the time to be able to do it. And so, but I think the next administration that's what they're leaning towards. At least that's the information that I have.
It all started with accountability, because we were looking to get everybody to be accountable and to report back and to make sure that those monies were properly handled and counted and processed.
Well, we lose accountability by sending them out.
The organizations were a little lax in some of their accounting anyhow. I mean, so by pushing them to accountability, some of them decided to go 501(c), which what Van Inquirer did, and then the athletic boosters, we probably pushed them that direction. I don't know if they were jumping at that, but they probably needed that. But then the community needs them to be, can deduct a donation to those organizations as a tax deduction.
They can if they use the schools. And it's not illegal for them to use the schools. They only need, and I researched this, they only need to have board approval. That's it. That's all that it comes down to. And then we just need to monitor them, which is what I thought we wanted to do. But we kind of have moved away from that and said, no, look, we don't want to do that. And we want you to take it on your own. And that's fine, because the person who is most at risk is actually the organization, not them. And so they're going to take, everybody else has decided to take it on, and I think the PTO is going to decide to take it on too.
It doesn't matter to me which way they go, as long as we have full accountability.
You don't have any. If they take it on as a 501(c) on their own, you have none as a school board.
We have none here, no. But those organizations are forced to be accountable, and they have to be audited, and they have, there are some things in place that, to protect that organization just by the design.
Okay.
There's just a document they have to fill out and a fee they have to pay, that's all.
Katrina Hughes is who I was talking to on the other two organizations.
Yeah.
And that was one of the concerns with, I believe it was Band, was having trouble raising money just to get the paperwork done. And since I had pushed him that way, I funded that to make that happen. So, I helped them with that just to make sure it didn't penalize them. So there's ways around some of this other. So, whichever way is efficient. Look, Tracy, wasn't there a problem though with accountability, with having a lot of different people handle money in a school-sponsored organization?
I was trying to figure out how would we bond them? How would we make them all get fingerprinting if it falls under us? Those are some of the things that I was concerned about.
Well, yeah, and none of those things have to be done. It's not part of the ORC. None of that has to be done. They simply just have to be blessed by us. If you really get technical upon that and do what Tracy's talking about, then we have to do that for all of our class monies that are in, any of our class treasurers that are working all the time, all of those things. We're kind of saying, well, art club's okay, and the school prom committee thing is okay. That's all okay, but they're all the same, and the ORC recognizes them all as the same. So these organizations, the athletic boosters and the PTO and the choral and band boosters are just a little bigger. That's all. And maybe they seem to have their scope outside because, well, other than the PTO, their stuff is extracurricular. Maybe PTO is extracurricular because they do field trips, they fund field trips, and they do teacher appreciation things and that kind of stuff. But and I'm fine with not requiring the classes to be able to do all of those things, because I don't think they should have to either. But then you shouldn't have to require that of the PTO. And so if you're going to require that of the PTO, if they decide to use the school's EIN and go that way, then I would say, then we're going to have to require it of everybody else.
We do.
We don't.
Yes, all of those class advisors are bonded. all of those, they have to do a budget. They're all fingerprinted if they're a class advisor and they're outside of the, outside of staff, because all the staff are fingerprinted. So all those groups.
Those are the class advisors, but not the kids. You're not doing any of that with, and that's exactly, and it's still the same thing. While it's a minor distinction, and I'm not bringing it up and saying it. I just say it's done and it's decided because the PTO is going to go away, and so this is really a moot discussion. It's not a discussion in the end.
It's still helpful.
But we really did them a disservice, and I'm disappointed with myself, I guess, because I shouldn't have allowed it, but I did.
I know in discussions with the athletic boosters in particular, we encouraged them one or two choices, and I think they ultimately chose. I mean, I guess the third choice was just continue as it had been, but we felt, and I didn't disagree with it, needed tightened up a little bit. And part of that's just because of over time you have turnover in those organizations, and those organizations do a lot of tremendous work, and I really appreciate all they do, and to support the school. It's really a positive thing for the students and for the community, but it gives a level of protection for the volunteers as well, because I always felt, not just in these organizations, but other organizations that deal with any kind of money, the people that volunteer and handle that money are exposing themselves to accusations. They don't have a defense against accusations unless they do a really good job of record keeping and have accountability. As you said, the accountability gives them a protection against some kind of accusation of false doing too. So it's a two-way street in the protection of the organization and the individual that volunteers. But I felt like they, at least the athletic boosters, that they made that decision. They wanted to go that way. I'm kind of with you, Dave. I've said this all along. I thought it was better to keep everybody in, but the option was there to go either way. And
I can see
chosen to go.
I can see where
I
these
think they wanted to maintain some of their independence.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
And to be honest with you, when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, especially with the athletic boosters, it's in their best interest, with the amount of money that they raise and that they keep on tap, probably to be their own 501(c), because it keeps it away from some board that doesn't know what the heck they're doing. And so that's fine. And the PTO, I think, is going to go that way. Then everybody's that way that you would consider outside the norm, and we'll just keep the student ones inside, and that's fine, But technically, they should be outside too. They should have their own stuff too.
But my understanding is that the PTO had, when I was approached, they hadn't made a decision. Was that they just wanted to be able to offer the tax exemption for when they got donations. And so they were coming to us to ask advice on what we wanted them to do, and that they would make no decision until we offered them what we thought we should do, what they should do. So the last conversation when I was approached was that they hadn't made a decision, and I wasn't convinced that we had made one either, to tell them what we wanted to do. So as long as we know how our coverage works, that's the only place where we need to be comfortable, because the way their bylaws read, the way we wrote them, because I know Dave was there, I can't remember if there was any other board member present when we actually wrote those bylaws, was that we would oversee and that we would help and that we would support them, because it was a school supported kind of, they were under our blanket, if you will. So we just needed to make sure that we could offer them that tax exemption. That's the only reason they were looking at the 501(c) was my understanding, but you may know more than I do.
Well, only because it's been, obviously my wife is the president of the PTO this year. And so I probably have had several discussions on this with you. And I believe that based on the conversations that she has had with the administration, the incoming administration of the PTO, that they are planning on doing their own 501(c). They know the rules, and that, you know, that money is potentially ours if they don't stay out, and you know, and I think they haven't seen a lot of support from us, and so they might as well just go do it, and that's just unfortunate. That's just unfortunate on our part. But it's neither here nor there, and it's not personal. There's no skin lost in it. So just move forward and hope that these guys, you know, continue to do the excellent work that they are doing, because all of them do excellent work, and their heart is in the right place. And the thing I worry about is that because you have turnover, they fall behind somehow in their paperwork or do something, and then they get themselves into a bind. I don't know what the bind is, but they get themselves into a bind because they have turnover in those positions, and we're not giving them any direction whatsoever. But yet they only exist because of us and for us, and that just seems a little odd to me. But whatever.
Okay, any other discussion? Thank everybody for their thoughts, and I think we'll probably be discussing it more in the future. Okay, Facilities Committee.
Been a couple meetings about Northwood. We've looked at a couple bids on heating and cooling and some other things, and we're going forward with some of the smaller ones. We're still waiting on final numbers on heating and cooling. We had second set of numbers come in this week, which was $93,000, which was not very favorable, was it?
Significantly more than the first one.
And I talked to our third person on my way home today. I said, how close are you on our numbers? Because somebody's going to ask tonight. And he said, I'll have them for you this week.
Oh, good.
So, and he's quoting basically the same Mitsubishi units that Quality did, so.
Okay.
But he doesn't have it figured completely, so. I told him we're going to be pushed, so we need to know soon. He said, I'll work on it tonight, so. The other thing is, we met a couple times, Doug Comstock and I were up at the high school and looked at the sidewalks there along the parking lot, and some of the curbs. Mike Barrett will be proud of us because we're getting figures together to try to fix that. I'd like to see that sidewalk widened so we could get a piece of equipment down there and take those parking curbs out along the edge of that. Because right now, if you pull up to the parking curb, you've blocked the sidewalk. And they're all deteriorated and falling apart. I said, can't we just line it? And he goes, yeah, that probably will work. So yeah, it makes snow plowing a lot easier, and then they could clean the sidewalk at the same time. So that was the kind of general direction, but we're waiting on numbers. I haven't seen those come through yet. Have you?
I have not.
If there was anything else.
There had been some discussion on our water bills at the new building, and I have spoken to the street superintendent, and he's looking into some things. He did some testing. He's working with Doug and Dan, and they seem to think there is a leak out there that's city water, but they're doing testing right now or watching the meter per se over the weekends and down times to see, you know, if there is a leak. So
If the repairs we were doing were actually fixing everything, and that went really well on Friday. So I think everything with the new building is also going well.
yeah, it's hard to believe we're spending there a year now. Anything else on facilities? Extracurricular?
We had a meeting the other day. I guess we had, 3 things that we covered the most of. one was middle school soccer. I guess basically trying to get that program put together. It would just be, I guess, more or less like a club. It wouldn't actually be a sponsored sport by Kenton, but they'd be able to call themselves Kenton Wildcats. What are the colors? No funding would come out of the school for it. You'd have to have a volunteer coach, find your own transportation. So I guess basically, yeah, it would just be.
Which
I'm
is
sure they could
similar to
find
what
some-
our high school started as.
Yeah, basically, and that's how every sport started as a club, usually for a year.
Right.
So, and like I said, has to go through OHSAA guidelines. So that's all in compliance. It was mentioned to partner up with the YMCA. Given the relationship between the boys soccer coach and them, that'd probably be a little tough, but there's probably ways around that. About 3 weeks ago at the 80s meeting, WBL 80s meeting. Apparently, if they can have 7 schools with bowling teams, right now there's 6, they can get a 7th team. It would be a club sport, as I understood it, for the WBL for 1 year. I presume then it would come back as a sanctioned sport the second year. So I think we're strongly considering putting a team together, exploring it. We've got somebody interested in being the coach, I know, and I think probably just got to get the word out, see if we got enough kids that's interested. I think we probably do. So, if you're listening to this or whatever, tell the AD you're interested in it, so he knows he's got enough interest to move forward with it. We've got the alley out here. I think Dale's more than willing to help get it started and work with it, and that's great. I mean, probably nobody knows more about bowling and anything than Dale Auber does around here. So that would work out really well. I think that'd be pretty cool. And we've got a big alley, 24 lanes. We can actually host tournaments out here, which that would be a big plus. That'd be a way for them to recover revenue too, because they can charge to get in, do the food service and that kind of thing for it. So hopefully that will move forward. I'm pretty confident that will work. I think we got people on board to jump in, volunteer to get it started, and I'm glad to see it going. That's another opportunity for kids to do something. That'd be a winter sport. Starts in November, I think. It runs through late February. So.
And Mark, don't they have 5 varsity members of that team? Is that correct?
Right. So they
5.
need a minimum of 5 to 8.
Yeah.
And they can even take more. I mean, you can bowl extra.
Yeah, you can have more on the team, but I think they use 5 scores. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the scoring in high school and college is a little different, but I'm sure they can work that pretty easily. And I think his name's Terry Hardings from Coldwater. I know we've talked to him a couple of years ago about it, and I know he's a really, really good guy, and he would help with any of that kind of stuff. But I think that'd be a pretty minor thing. I think it'd be pretty easy to work through and get that straight. Our third thing is our fundraising, and that's kind of a whole new thing. And trying to do away with probably hitting up businesses every week for funds for one sport, this sport, that sport. And the community is really great about supporting our events. But I'm sure everybody gets tired of getting hit up about every week about supporting something. So the athletic director came up with an idea of having one fundraiser at different levels. It would be for the course of 3 years. The major ones would be gold, silver, bronze, and I forget it would be. I think the top one, the gold level, is like $5,000 per year for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I think it was $2,500 for silver don't know how that would all work out quite yet. Basically, it would come back revenue like you're paying sports like football and basketball would be like your tier ones, and your tier twos would still be your paying sports like volleyball, soccer. I suppose track would be in there because that's, you pay to get into track. And then your third tier would be like baseball and softball. And not that they're any less, but they don't charge to get into them. So I don't know what his thoughts are on how to budget that money into that on these fundraisers. And I remember, if you remember, we talked about what his minimum, and he said his minimum he thought would be 90,000 a year. He'd like to try to raise, and he could probably do a lot better than I'm guessing. But you know, he's being pretty conservative, and that's good to get started.
And also on how they would distribute the money, his goal also was that he had what they've been raising for the last couple of years, and he wanted to be able to at least match that with this. So if he could come along and say, we'll give you the same amount of money you raised last year on your own, you forgo your individual fundraisers. And that was, I think, pretty well accepted. And I think that's basically the minimum goal of the project, is to at least be able to do that and not have to go each team, each
Right.
organization going out and raising funds for themselves.
It's basically to simplify fundraising, make every team gets funded at the level they've got right now, you know, and then try to adjust those budgets if they need it, you know, and set those up that way.
And if any team had an outstanding fundraiser that he couldn't match, that they would be allowed to sustain it. So.
Correct.
And it still is opened up if people, I mean, you can still make your donation into a certain sport if that's what you want to do.
Right.
I mean, it's not a dyed in the wool thing. I mean, if you want to designate where you want that to go, you can designate your money where it goes. So it does have flexibility to it. I mean, we don't want to exclude anybody if they want to donate to help the programs. So I don't know. I mean, the outline's pretty good right there. Now we just got to refine it and get it down where we know exactly what we've got. I guess that comes down to each sport given their budget and their off-season budget and what they got to have. But it would be nice if we didn't have to go out. And I feel bad, you know, kids are out and they're out here trying to sell raffle tickets or whatever they've got. And, you know, they're coming behind a sport that's been out the week before selling. And I mean, our community has always been really good about supporting it. And I always feel really good about how we support our sports. But, you know, it'd be better for them, I guess, that way. A little easier on the businesses and the individuals around town. So, you know, the basics are pretty good on how it's laid out. Basically, just get it refined and get it down to make sure everybody gets what they need that works correctly. And I think that could be done pretty easily.
Yeah, I think he feels pretty confident if he can get it up and running, it's more fair for all sports involved instead of some of them getting large chunks and some not hardly getting anything.
And hopefully it'll eliminate, they can do a little more training time, a little less fundraising time too.
Right.
I mean, I don't know, fundraising is not a fun thing, I guess, so.
Never.
You know, it's.
Also, one of my goals is to add to the cohesiveness of all those efforts. That there's been a sense of everybody's on their own kind of thing, and he wants to try to increase the sense of community among all the sport teams, that they're working more together, and this is part of his process.
That may be his biggest challenge of all. I think it'll work and it'll come together.
He's already pulled it together, so.
Yeah.
Well, but it's like we discussed, you never know until you try. And I think
Exactly.
I think it needs to, have the effort.
You can't be afraid to try new things.
Right.
Venture outside the box. Sometimes change is good. So that's all I've got on the extracurricular. I do want to say Robotics Club was over in Marion, the national competition, and I don't have all the details, but I just wanted to recognize they've been out working in competitions and say, well done. It's really their first year, I guess. They've kind of come back and got going again, right? Because this was at the high school level, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, you know, well done the first year and build off of that and work hard and approved next year, and it's a lot of fun.
The story I got that they won their division in their own mind because everybody else was more than well funded. The two teams they lost to were very well funded.
Yeah.
They had the newest and brightest of everything.
Yeah.
So we'll have to work on that a little bit next year, make sure they're a little better
Third
equipped.
behind them, they thought was very good.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
represented us pretty well then.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Very
So,
well, actually.
Yes.
so well done.
Considering the restraints, even better than that. So.
That's about all I have.
Okay. Well, I'm going to piggyback a little on extracurricular and wrap Career Center into one here. Last Saturday evening was the Kenton Ohio High Point FFA banquet, and it was a very well attended banquet. It's probably the largest crowd I've seen in a long time.
340 tickets were sold.
Yeah.
Ms. Terrell was telling me that they had 340, and I think there were some more walk-ins. Yes, it was a full
Very
house.
well attended. I mean, I think they almost ran out of food. There were so many people there.
Well,
But
you just slice it down a little thinner.
But it was great to see the large crowd, and I think the kids really appreciated it because they were doing a lot of great things.
And it was well put on, except when the
Yes.
speaker squeaked a little once.
Once?
Sound man. But no, it was an excellent banquet.
Yeah, it was a very good banquet. Glad to see the participation and the level of, attendance. So, and there were a lot of administration there too. So,
Yes.
along with the Career Center, Jennifer's already talked and Tom about the Northwood project. We know that's ongoing and that's moving forward. And I think everybody's really getting excited about that coming
Numbers look really strong.
to
so
fruition.
far.
Yeah. So, and then we're heading for the same thing we're heading for here. It isn't going to be too long. Next month, we're looking at graduation and taking the summer off.
Can I hone in on that a minute?
Sure.
I was working on Allen scholarships over the weekend. And what's our graduating class this year?
Size-wise? Oh, you're asking.
I know, but about 130, 140.
It's just a little smaller.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
smaller class.
46 applications first year. So that's 100 students who didn't ask for money to go to some kind of schooling. We really have a need for that Northwood program. I mean, I realize some kids are going to go to service, some are going to get married, not go. That's a large number that we don't know exactly that they're coming.
I agree.
So. And of course, out of those 46, I saw half of them. We have some wonderful young people coming out of this district, as we do every year.
That's every year, exactly.
There's some really high-quality young people that would all be proud of if you read the applications. I mean, not only wonderful test scores, but involved in lots of things, and supporting lots of different organizations, and volunteering in lots of places.
And I think we need to commend not only like you mentioned the Allen Scholarship, but all the community organizations that donate the Dollars for Scholars and others that they put a lot of dollars into our schools to help our kids every year.
But when you read the applications, we need more.
Well, I
More
agree.
money, because there's a lot of need out there too. I mean, it's amazing.
And I think a school our size, we probably give away about as many scholarships as anybody in the state.
Probably more than most.
I mean, I've been to other school like a lot of times they give out a graduation
Right.
at other schools. That ceremony takes about 3.5 hours up there, and but that's a great thing.
It
It's
is.
helping a lot of kids.
Okay, Policy Committee.
We met, as you can tell, on the agenda. Most of it is state directed. We were fortunate. We didn't take action on a policy last year that we decided to wait on. That now anyone that did take action on said policy has to rescind that policy. So a little less work for us. But otherwise, yeah, it's just the normal kind of thing. We'll read through it as you get there.
Yeah, we'll be covering a lot of that tonight. Okay,
Can we go back in committee? Transportation,
sure.
not on there, but
We're not finished yet.
we had a meeting about a truck. And I'm sure one employee was not very happy because he brought us a nice proposal to replace the truck, and I sent it back. I kicked it out of committee. I told him I didn't really want to see a single proposal. I wanted an evaluation of a fleet. And so we sent it back, so you might hear something on that one, so.
Okay.
But then I heard that we had a van go down in Chicago, so obviously we needed to look at a fleet. So we may be looking at more than one vehicle, but I haven't got the information yet, so.
All right. Well, I was wondering.
We haven't looked at vehicles outside of buses for quite a while.
Well, that's true. A lot of fleets getting older.
Not since I've been on the board.
Yeah, so it's,
Uh-uh.
but we were on tight numbers for a while and we just put it off. But I mean, we need to seriously look at that really hard right now, so. But I want to see the complete fleet analysis before we start pulling the trigger on a particular vehicle here or there.
All right.
So,
Well, I'm glad you brought that transportation thing up. That's a good segue for what I was going to try to figure out where I was going to work this in. But I had a couple of calls and some concerns from residents up on Silver Street about the speed and different things after, school and before school. And I personally went up and sat about 6 times in the last couple of months, and there is a concern there. It's not as large as maybe they thought it was. But there are some people that are driving a little faster than the 25 mile an hour and the 20 mile an hour speed limits, and that is a concern. I was more concerned with the fact that I sat and watched and probably
If there is a problem with the actual city street, like Silver or Lark Lane, if you do call the police department, they are very responsive as far as getting involved. And even when I get a phone call and a complaint, I've called and they will do patrol and to help support them, because ultimately they have to be the ones to take action. We can put out
Right.
the all calls and do the support and help, but they've been so supportive, so we do appreciate what they've done to help us.
And I agree with your statement, and I've talked to Lieutenant Lutz about the situation, and he's told me they've been up there on many occasions. Of course, when they're sitting there, everybody's on their best behavior.
Yeah, it gets followed very well, but they have been
So,
very supportive, and they're
yes.
willing to go up and help and do what they need to do to try to help the traffic.
Okay, that brings the end of committee reports. Any old?
Can we do 10 old business? Okay,
Well, it's
you go
it maybe
ahead.
not be so much old business, but I discovered after our last board meeting, Mr. Seaman informed me that our feed on,
That was my same one.
was it? Good. Is no longer on the access channel, channel 9 on Warner Cable. He told me where you can view it is it's a digital, or we don't have it at all anymore.
Right now, they found a bad amplifier. Apparently, it's not got replaced because they don't have any feed tonight either.
So essentially, we're not televised like
We're on the
we,
internet.
we're on the internet.
You're on the internet.
Well, thanks, Ryan.
That was it. But my question is if, and I can't remember what that budget line is, how much that is. Is it 15,000
For Time Warner, I don't know.
for us to, because we pay for this.
We pay John
We pay
Oh,
John.
we pay John.
150.
150.
Yeah,
John, take 50,000.
There it is.
yeah, John says 15,000 sounds good to him.
There it is. And so, yeah, so I was thinking the budget number was larger than that. If it's not that, it's not that big. Then
Well, I know that in the past there was a pulse poll done on whether or not we should keep televising our board meetings, and 67% of the public wanted to keep it. So I think we need to figure out a way to do that. So,
Did a survey one time, didn't we?
yeah, it was a large number wanted to keep
Yeah, I
it.
was surprised, but
And I don't have any problem with keeping keeping it and doing it. And maybe we're just not maybe we're just not on the cable thing and we're just on the internet. That's fine for me too.
While we're
Yeah.
discussing that, is it time to give John a raise? He's been at $150 since I think he started this position.
John's happy at $150. He doesn't want any more money.
I think we just gave him a raise. In fact, we're.
Yeah, he liked that $15,000 number.
Okay. All right. Any other old business?
Cost of living for the last 20 years.
Has it been 20 years?
It's been a while. Yeah.
Good thing you live cheap, man.
All right. No other old business. We'll move on to new business because we've got some lengthy lists here tonight. 11A, approve the following transfers for the 2015-2016 school year. George Wyndham from 6th grade at Kenton Elementary to 8th grade science at Kenton Middle School. Carly Borders from intervention specialist at Kenton Elementary to intervention specialist at Kenton High School. Lori Paul from 1st grade to 2nd grade at Kenton Elementary. Amy Mikesell from 5th grade to 3rd grade at Kenton Elementary. Brenda Ames from 6th grade to 5th grade at Kenton Elementary. Motion to accept, please.
Householder.
McCollum?
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Passes 5-0. B, approve the following substitutes contingent upon proper certification, training, BCI, FBI check, etc. for the 2014-2015 school year. Rebecca Clyburn, substitute bus driver, and Colby Rush, substitute teacher. Motion, please.
Brim?
McCollum?
Discussion. Vote, please.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Item C, approve the written resignation of Jason Jones, Kenton High School Social Studies teacher and Social Studies Department head, effective July 1st, 2015, in order to take the position of Kenton High School Assistant Principal. Motion.
Watkins.
Second, Brim?
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes. Passes 5-0. Item D, approve the following custodial substitutes for the 2015-16 school year, contingent upon required paperwork, BCI, FBI, etc. Paul Ashbrook, Brandon Walters, Mel Donald, Russ Senning, Steve Hayes.
McCollum?
Householder.
Discussion. Vote, please.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Passes 5-0. Item E, approve the following cafeteria substitutes for the 2015-16 school year, contingent upon paperwork, BCI, FBI, etc. Barb Baum, Kathy Lawrence, Lena Evans, Tiffany Mustaine, Kelly Henry, and Heather Eisner. Motion, please.
Watkins.
Got Watkins.
Watkins,
Brim will second.
Brim second. Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Passes 5-0. Okay, item F. A lot of these items now are getting pretty lengthy with names, and in fairness to everybody, if anybody wants me to read them, I will. If not, we'll just go with the item and the motion and move forward. Everybody has a printed copy. It's all out there. So we'll start with item F, approve the following bus drivers for the 2015-16 school year, contingent upon paperwork, etc. Motion, please.
McCollum?
Householder.
Discussion. Vote, please.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Passes 5-0. Approve the following substitute educational assistants and secretaries for the 2015-16 school year, contingent upon required paperwork, BCI, etc.
Watkins.
Brim?
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim? Mr.
Yes.
Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Passes 5-0. Item H, approve the following substitute teachers for 2015-16 school year. Of course, contingent upon all the paperwork.
Householder.
McCollum?
Householder and McCullough.
Yep.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Household?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes. Approve the non-renewal of the employee and non-employee supplemental contracts at the end of the 14-15 school year or at the end of the applied season, whichever comes first. And this is an annual thing we have to do. And as you can see, the list is very, very lengthy. So,
I want to read those 300 names,
you
Rob.
want me to read this?
No.
I have yes.
Read the first one and the last one.
Okay, there you go.
No.
Motion, please.
McCullough.
We have Brim and McCullough. McCullough and then Brim second.
Okay, that way.
However you want to. Vote, please.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
And Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Item J, approve the following extended contract for 2014, 2015. I'll do this one. Kirk Cameron, 2 days in the amount of $740. Motion to accept.
Householder.
Second.
Watkins.
Brim?
Watkins, got you. Any discussion?
Kirk did not make the last board agenda. When we had approved all the other principals, it's just because of, again, the calamity days and they had started back in August early because we had the late start.
Well, yeah, my question is why does that go on for such a long period of time? I mean,
Because that's the law.
that is the law. For how long is that? Is there a limit to it?
That's the limit.
A whole year?
Yeah.
Two.
It's 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
We've done this in the past.
I know we have, and I
Yeah.
just couldn't remember that detail, so thank you.
It's 2 years. Any other discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Passes 5-0. Approve the following volunteer for 2014-15 school year contingent upon proper certification, training, DCI, FBI check, et cetera. Shane Bird, softball. Motion, please.
McCullough.
Michelle's got it. Room second.
Okay.